In the middle of a heavy downpour, a couple walked as if it were a sunny day in the park. As they neared the river, the man mentioned it was known as the true man-eating river. Leaning on his arm, the woman beside him called out for the sensei to leave. They then tied a rope connecting their wrists, and the man declared they would be together forever. Suddenly, our one and only truck-kun barreled down the muddy road and helped the couple achieve their dreams. On that day, a renowned author and his lover left this world. After the tragedy, the man woke up in an unfamiliar sanctuary, looking around with a strange disinterest at his foiled plan. Observing a statue of an angel, he deduced that this was the afterlife. However, a woman suddenly appeared and explained that this was not the final destination for the dead. She then introduced herself as Annette and explained that this was a place called Zauberberg, a harsh world surrounded by darkness. According to her, the newly deceased man was chosen to enter this land to become a hero who must bring light and hope. Showing no motivation, the man realized that not only had he failed in his plan to pass alongside his lover, but he had also been brought to this strange place without his consent. With a slight laugh, he put his hand on his head and remarked that his life had always been a great shame. Annette, without patience for his drama, warned him of an urgent mission. However, the hero had swallowed several sedatives to end his life. Desperate, Annette detoxified him with her magic, although he didn't appreciate it much. She then ordered him to rise and fulfill his destiny of saving this world, but the renowned author wanted nothing to do with heroism, stating that he just wanted to die. As Annette fumed, explaining that he was the chosen one, the man gathered the sedatives from the ground, swallowed a few, and laughed sarcastically, emphasizing that he hadn't asked to be chosen for anything. Annette then asked if he had been visited by a truck. Remembering the accident, he said yes. She soon explained that it was the selection truck for the otherworld, running over potential heroes. Among all the depressed people on Earth, only those crushed by truck-kun tires could start afresh and build a life worth living in this world of adventures. However, in the author's mind, his only chance of happiness was to pass with his beloved, and this elf with a pope hat had ruined everything. Internally, Annette cursed the man for his ingratitude, but she was sure he would change his mind when he saw the status he had gained in this place, since every human brought here received superhuman abilities. But when she saw his status, he was a complete weakling with a mere 1 point of life and poisoned. Not wanting to let it go, Annette searched every corner of his status for any special ability she might have missed. However, all she found were packs of cigarettes, sedatives, and a notebook with a pen in the inventory. It was then when she realized that the man was indeed a human trash with lung cancer. The man, not disappointed as he had no expectations, turned his back and announced he was leaving. Feeling guilty, Annette grabbed his wrist and apologized, assuming they might have brought him by mistake, given that he was extremely weak. She made it clear that he would not survive in this world. But once again, he laughed and replied that this had always been his life, whether in his original world or now. Not wanting to leave the human alone, Annette asked him to stay inside for now, as going out would expose him to many dangers. However, the sensei didn't expect to live on, as he wouldn't mind giving up everything to never exist again. Saying this, he turned and left while the guide watched with teary eyes, noting that this human was different from the others. There was a time when Annette took pride in guiding inhabitants from another world, welcoming people with open arms and getting excited to meet all kinds of folks from alternate realities. That was until one day she received an arrogant boy, one of those employees exploited to the bone by his company. The idea of becoming a hero went to his head. The kid bragged about everything he did, and every time Annette found herself praising his performance without thinking that maybe she had become just a hero worshiper instead of a woman guiding the representatives of light in this world. To reverse this situation, she asked Sensei to at least find a profession before leaving. He turned with a smirk and informed her that he was already a born writer, nothing more, nothing less. He said goodbye to the girl with the pretty ears and left for good. As the sanctuary gate closed, Annette was sure she had been waiting for this man to arrive. Instead of a thrush or a vulture in this world, fierce and aggressive dragons flew in the skies. Beneath them on the ground walked the depressive writer who didn't understand a single thing written on the direction signs. As if that weren't enough, he had no doubt that he would never find a cup of coffee around there. Out of nowhere, some internal system alerted that he had discovered the landmark Great Plains of Erston, earning him 5 experience points. With a terrible headache, Sensei asked the voice to stop talking inside his ear, but the system then announced that he had leveled up to level 2, using a noisy heroic symphony in the background. Not long after, he noticed the presence of a death tree holding a girl hostage, and she begged the adventurer for help, assuming that's what he was, of course. However, the writer didn't lift a finger. He just observed, noting that today was the day he met people with strange ears. Regardless, he acknowledged that women on the brink of death have a unique charm, so he asked the girl if he could write a romance based on her. She screamed to be saved again, and he finally realized she needed help. He stretched his arms up to grab her, but his height wasn't enough. The girl then asked if he had a sword or spell, but just as he was about to answer, Sensei was also grabbed by the death tree. At least he was relieved it was by the neck because it cut off his air supply. With little time left, he said it was a pleasure to meet her, but she didn't feel the same. Pleasure is something they wouldn't experience when the tree used its suction to steal their life force. In other words, they had only a few minutes to live. Hanging by his neck, this was the sole thing that Sensei had prayed for. As he felt weaker, he sang the song, "I Have to Go Now," until his neck bent forward in his final moments. However, ominous energy soon escaped his body, spreading through the death tree's branches until it consumed the entire structure, causing an explosion that freed them both. While Sensei lamented his survival, the system announced that 300 damage had been inflicted by the adventurer's poison. To make his headache worse, the symphony returned to announce another level up. Curious about all this, the cat girl asked what his deal was because he pretended to be weak, yet after what just happened, he clearly had some sophisticated tricks up his sleeve. He didn't answer her question and just reflected that for the 5th time he had asked for death, death did not come. The girl then says she doesn't know why the guy is depressed, but she's happy that he survived, so she thanks him for the help, invites him to her home, and asks the adventurer's name. He then introduces himself as Osamu, but is usually known as Sensei. But when the man feels his hand being pulled by the girl, he immediately remembers Sakin, who said the exact same thing when they were about to swim in the river. Thinking about this, he wonders if Sakin also came to this world. Repeating his beloved's name over and over, the cat girl thinks he's calling her by that name and tries to correct him by telling her real name. But all Sensei does is repeat Sakin's name. With the arrival of the breeze, the writer finds a reason to live amidst this insanity, stating that he will find Sakin wherever she is. With the red string tied around his wrist, he intends to reunite with the woman of his life so they can continue the plan that went wrong last time. Meanwhile, Anik prays to the gods of Zauberberg to protect this adventurer, hoping to meet him again one day. Contrary to her expectations, her wish is granted sooner than she imagined because Sensei is opening the door at that very moment. Excited, even though she met the guy 20 minutes ago, she runs to him as if he returned from war after 4 years of marriage. However, the cat girl shows up behind him, killing the mood. Not wanting to be involved, Sensei announces he's looking for a lady named Sakin, driving the guide crazy with each new woman entering the story. However, Annette says she has no idea who that is, so Sensei sets off on his quest without a single clue. The cat girl reassures him that she's sure the lady is somewhere around. And since it's still a long way to her house, she invites her companion to make a stop in the city of Roth Castle. With that, she pulls Sensei by the arm and Annette immediately shows up to teach the feline a lesson, saying it's absurd to hold a man's hand in public. Confused, the cat girl asks why this woman is following them, but the guide has no answer. With that, the short girl assumes Annette has her eye on Sensei, driving Annette crazy trying to justify herself in every possible way, emphasizing that her job is to guide the inhabitants of the other world. Hearing this, the cat girl discovers Sensei is not from this planet, which explains why he's so strong. Annette is confused because his stats say otherwise. The girl then explains that Sensei killed the Tree of Life with a single attack and saved her life. Imagining that her rescue created an intimate bond between them, Annette starts feeling sick with jealousy, kneeling and exuding a dark aura while cursing the cat girl. Ignoring the drama, Sensei finds a perfect bed for himself and announces he's going to take a nap and to wake him when they reach the city. He bids farewell to Annette and Tama before closing the coffin. The cat girl complains that's not her name, making the guide laugh and boasts she was called by the correct name. The journey truly begins with Annette pulling Sensei's coffin by a rope. In the late afternoon, in a palace located somewhere in this unknown world, a young maiden gazes at the beautiful sea view from a balcony. The scene shifts back to the girls who had been dragging their sensei for so long that the cat girl lost her patience and demanded he walk on his own. When there was no response, Annette checked if he had died, but his status showed he was merely napping. Since they were near their destination, the elf asked Tama to carry the coffin again, causing the cat girl to complain once more that that wasn't her name. Inside the coffin, Sensei dreamed of holding his beloved Sachin in his arms again, eager to continue what they had started. Eventually, the group arrived in the city of Roth, where Sensei began to realize he was in an entirely different world. This revelation sparked his artistic imagination with all the things he could never have envisioned. But amidst this, Annette announced that she would request an audience with the king. In the throne room, the supreme ruler of Roth introduced himself as Thomas, alongside his daughter Charlotte. The king then offered the group accommodations in the castle for the night, which pleased the travelers, but there was a condition. He loved hearing stories from travelers and wished the adventurers to share their experiences and memories with him. Given he had just arrived and wasn't the most proactive adventurer, Sensei asked if talking about sleeping in a coffin was enough, making Thomas think it was a death threat. To steer away from this topic, Annette remarked on Princess Charlotte's beauty. After thanking her for the compliment, the king informed them that Charlotte would soon be married and sought their advice on the matter. Before explaining further, he summoned two men to the throne room. He then introduced them to the two candidates for the princess at hand, the brave knight Gomes and Otto, the wandering minstrel of love. The king then explained that due to the influence of the Demon King, monster activity had recently increased, and considering his age, Thomas couldn't handle this threat alone, so one of these two would become Charlotte's husband and the next king. However, since the princess had not yet chosen her suitor, Thomas wanted the candidates to weigh in. After pondering for a few seconds, Sensei said that he had no idea, as this decision would determine the future of the princess and the kingdom, and it shouldn't be placed on the shoulders of strangers who had just arrived and were unknown to everyone. To conclude his statement, Sensei commented that Thomas was a terrible tyrant who didn't deserve the crown he wore. The two women accompanying Sensei tried to smooth over the situation, explaining that he came from another world and didn't know how to behave appropriately here. That night, the writer gazed out the window of his room until Annette woke up and asked if he was having trouble sleeping. Sensei then confessed that he never could sleep, leaving the elf momentarily speechless. However, she soon asked who this Saksheng he always talked about was. But before he could answer, the cat girl's tail poked out from under the blanket, revealing that she had been sleeping on the writer's lap the whole time. She then scolded the girl for resting on Sensei's no-no square, but the cat girl defended herself, explaining that she was protecting herself from the cold, which was customary for her kind. She further accused the elf of being jealous, which she claimed was the real reason behind Annette's outburst. However, in the middle of their argument, Sensei left the room to get some air and decided to take a walk around the castle. He found Charlotte on the balcony where she spent most of her days, gazing at the moonlit water. Sensei then approached and commented on the beauty of the landscape, saying that the lake was so lovely it made him want to drown in it. Charlotte expressed her shock at his morbid comment, which made Sensei laugh, noting that she cared more about his life than he did. Changing the subject, Charlotte confessed her dilemma about choosing between Gomes and Otto, explaining that the knight, despite being a recent arrival in the kingdom, was beloved by everyone and had gained authority among the soldiers, earning the king's trust. For these reasons, she felt she should choose him. However, Otto was her childhood friend who sang songs that comforted her whenever she felt down. Sensei observed that Charlotte was a kind-hearted girl who cared about her father. Unlike her, his life had been a disaster, with multiple suicide attempts deeply affecting his parents. However, throughout his life, he had never asked anyone to decide how he should live. He advised Charlotte to follow her own desires. The next day, the king gathered the group of travelers in the throne room to witness his daughter's decision regarding her marriage. Annette also remarked that for the good of the kingdom, the young woman would surely choose Gomes, while the cat girl thought the musician suited the princess better. But at that moment, Thomas asked his daughter to stand before the chosen man and make her vows. She slowly walked up to Sensei, took his hand, and declared that she would end her life with him. Everyone was shocked by her declaration, and Annette even fainted. Charlotte explained that, as she had mentioned the previous day, Otto sang to her when she was depressed, but he also sang when she was fine, sometimes annoying her all night with a new song. She didn't want to marry Gomes either because he was smelly. Desperate, Thomas urged his daughter to choose one of the men offered to her. However, she stood her ground, condemning her father's attempt to force her into marriage without considering her feelings. She stated that she didn't want to marry at all, and only Sensei had asked her what she wanted to do with her life. Amid this, Gomes revealed why he had an unpleasant odor. He then removed his armor, revealing himself to be a minotaur, a servant of the Demon King of Wrath. His plan had been to marry the princess, ascend to the throne, and then deliver her to his master. Sensei then asked if she had realized he was a monster, but she had only sensed his stinky smell. Embarrassed, the Minotaur declared that he no longer needed to ascend the throne and would simply kill everyone. As the cat girl attempted to wake Annette, the kingdom's guards engaged the monster but were swiftly defeated. A pillar, shattered by the Minotaur's punch, nearly collapsed onto Annette, but the cat girl rescued her just in time. She retaliated with a knee to the giant bull's face, demonstrating that she wouldn't fall as easily as the soldiers. Otto then played a tune which gave the cat girl the illusion of being empowered, but the music actually did nothing. The Minotaur then attacked with his horns, but she evaded and struck him once more. Despite her initial upper hand, the cat girl was struck by the enemy's horn, which was incredibly strong and sharp. Seizing this opportunity, the Minotaur declared he would summon all his strength for the next blow. However, Sensei interrupted the battle, mocking the monster by calling him a little cow and instructing him to assist him in ending his life. After all, the princess had just rid herself of her foolish father, and the little cow's magnificent horns seemed the most stylish route to the afterlife. Everyone was shocked by Sensei's approach except the Minotaur, who agreed enthusiastically. He then announced his intention to kill the king, everyone in the room, all the kingdom's citizens, and finally burn everything to ashes. While Charlotte appeared distressed by this, Sensei remarked that it was fine by him since he wouldn't be alive anyways. The Minotaur wished the couple well in the afterlife and charged at them. But on the brink of death, Charlotte wept and resolved to live and protect her people. Hearing this, Sensei commented on the princess's kindness as he had imagined and then pushed her out of the horn's path, declaring she wasn't suitable to be his death partner. At that moment, Anit woke up and conjured a strong light barrier that blocked the Minotaur's attack. The elf vowed never to let Sensei die as long as she was around. Besides blocking the attack, the level 18 cleric managed to break the enemy's powerful horn, impressing even the cat girl. Calling the cat girl Tama, Anit asked her to play her part. She then charged at the giant bull with a wild cat strike, sending the massive creature flying out of the castle, destroying the wall and plunging him into the lake. As the adrenaline wore off, Tama awkwardly thanked Anit for saving her life. She then smiled and also thanked Tama for saving her. Behind them, Otto declared he would turn their friendship into a song, but Tama told him to run away. While Charlotte gazed through the hole in the wall, her father knelt before her, begging for forgiveness for not considering her feelings. In tears, the king pleaded for the princess's forgiveness, but she touched her father's shoulder and expressed her desire to be heard regarding the kingdom's issues and her life. They soon embraced and cried together in reconciliation, while Sensei remarked that he had failed to die once again. A day later, a soldier alerted them about the arrival of monsters near the south gate, prompting the queen to order her royal guard to eliminate the threat. Sitting on the throne with her crown, she remembered the duty of protecting the kingdom and relied on her men for this. Dragging Sensei once more, his two companions commented on the princess's boldness in becoming the ruler of Roth, but worried about a 16-year-old girl handling the challenges of governing a kingdom. Overhearing the conversation, Sensei commented from inside the coffin that the girl had chosen this for herself, so they shouldn't worry. He noted that women on the verge of death are beautiful, but those who rise on their own are equally wonderful. As they dragged him, Tama asked if he could walk on his own. But Sensei, distracted, admired the beauty of the blue sky that illuminated his deep, dark circles. This then concludes the second episode's recap of this anime. If you enjoyed this video and want more of it, go ahead and hit that like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you everyone for helping us in reaching 5,000 subscribers. Let's continue to grow this community and help us reach a new goal of 10,000 subscribers.